Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Espinosa. Here. Walker. Warren. Mason.
Present.
Jackson.
Present.
Hightower.
Here.
Chavez.
Full participation written. We ask that the board accept the written correspondence as presented. Okay. Yeah, so just a roll call. Consideration only. And we asked the board approve the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 28th, 2025, closed session minutes of March 24th, 2025, and the reorganization minutes of April 28th, 2025 as presented. Motion. Ms. Jackson, Ms. Casey, roll call please.
Hightower.
Here.
Jackson.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Espinosa. Aye. Motion carried.
And for reports, no full business from the superintendent.
No business. Now, the suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve the accounts and claims payable as presented. We have no questions for this one. And then also the building rental usage report is provided. Oh, I forgot to do. I'm sorry. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education approve the accounts and claims payable as presented. There were no questions.
A motion. Mrs. Espinosa, Mr. Jackson, roll call please.
Espinosa. Aye. Mason.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Any other business? I'm sorry, Mr. Travis.
No business.
Okay. Okay, now, any other old business? Okay, so, brings the closed session. Get a motion for the closed session? Okay, you're consistent with the closed session. Roll call please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
No.
Mason.
Aye.
Espinosa. Aye. Motion carried.
We should be briefly in closed session, folks. Wow. Okay, bring the board meeting back in order. Okay, consideration of business. I need board reports. Ms. Mason.
I have nothing to report.
Take this one, not here. So bad. Your electrical facilities group, is that most given board reports?
Madam Chair, President.
Okay. And Mr. Jackson, you go committee have anything to report? Okay, go right to superintendent reports. We ask that the board, under licensed personnel leave of absence, approve the licensed personnel leave request as presented for Ellen Nebess and Stephanie Samanik as presented. Okay, and motion. Mr. Jackson, Ms. Espinosa, roll call please.
Espinosa. Aye. Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Licensed personnel employments. We ask that the board employ the following teachers pending all employment paperwork. Stephanie Guaricio, 8th grade math teacher, Northlake Middle School, effective August 18th, 2025. And Julia DeStefani, 3rd grade teacher, Sunnyside School, effective August 18th, 2025, as presented. Motion. Ms. Espinosa, Mr. Jackson.
Hightower.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Espinosa. Aye. Motion carried.
Educational support staff leave of absence. We ask that the board approve the educational support staff leave of absence requests as presented for Tabitha Raper and Perry Strong. Need a motion? Ms. Mason and Mrs. Jackson, roll call please.
Mason.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Espinosa. Aye. Motion carried.
Educational support staff employments. We ask that the board employ the following personnel pending all employment paperwork. Nally Navarez Acosta, cross-categorical teacher assistant at Riley Intermediate School, effective August 18th, 2025.
Get a motion. Mr. Jackson, Mr. Espinosa, roll call please.
Jackson.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Espinosa. Mason.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Educational support staff resignation. We ask that the board accept the resignation of the following personnel. Mayor Cruz, Murillo Garcia, teacher assistant at Whittier, effective at the end of the 2024-2025 school year.
A motion. Ms. Espinosa and Ms. Mason, roll call please.
Espinosa. Mason.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Hightower.
Aye.
Motion carried.
We ask that the board approve the following fundraisers as presented. Jefferson Sunnyside MacArthur PTO. They would like board approval to be a vendor at the Spring into Summer Festival at Eisenhower Community Center. That's a community outreach, and this will be at no cost to the PTO. They'll provide games and entertainment for the students and a paint table, and their goal is to sign people up from the community to be involved in the PTO for the upcoming school year, and a Spirit Wear fundraiser.
I got a motion. Ms. Mason and Ms. Espinosa, roll call please.
Hightower.
Aye.
Mason.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Espinosa. Motion carried.
And for my oral report, I'd like to thank Mrs. Espinoza for participating in the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee. And the minutes are in your packet. It's always good to get parent feedback, and we also were able to go over a little bit of our new Press Policy Plus. And I'll be going over that with our new policies with our administrators tomorrow, beginning our process of becoming more familiar with that. Also, I wanted to respond as the board asked a question last month about uncertainties with finances and grants. So we met as a team, and one of the things we're going to work on is, in the past, there have been grants that had a carryover. What that meant, let's just say 10%. If your grant was $100,000, you could carry over $10,000 to the next year, as an example. Now, we really don't want to do that, but there are times where it's nice to know, oh, you can just carry it over. But we're thinking, because of the uncertainties with funding, we're going to do everything we can to expend our funds before August 31st. And we talked about that because that way, if things are not guaranteed for next year, we're not relying on it. So we're beginning to strategize about being very clear about what our priorities are and making sure that we have funding for it. We still have grant funding. But one of the questions that came up from the board was, what is the impact on grant funding going to be in the next few years? And we really thought about that, because right now nobody knows, but we need to have a plan.
Right.
And our plan is, when we have the funds, we're going to expend them. We're not going to count on them carrying over. And the other thing is, the good news is, we are getting our grant funding currently. But now we're actually talking about next year down the road. And as you know, we always figure these things out, and we will. And I'd like to remind the board, several years ago, when I was writing the pre-K grant, we lost it one year. And we found a way, though, through Title I, and we made it happen. And we didn't skip a beat, because we have a good team here and we'll figure things out. But it really caused us to reflect as an administrative team, because there are no guarantees. We can do everything to be in compliance, and it's possible that some of our grants won't be there, or they won't be funded the same way. So we're gonna work to identify certainties where we can. I just wanted to mention that, unless there are any questions.
So we are funded in all areas for the rest of the year.
For this year, Irene, would it be for the rest of the year, or is it so far?
I believe it's gonna be for the rest of the year, but things are changing so quickly, yes. So, we could have one, it could be certain 1 minute, and then something freezes for some reason. It may not be, eliminated, but it may be frozen.
But we have gotten all of our.
But we've
grant
received
payments.
everything to date that we should have gotten,
Everything to food.
Food program, right?
including the food program.
So when you say for the year, you mean to this school year or the end of the fiscal year?
For our grants, it goes through the end of the grant. So for our grants, we try to write them all for August 31st. We get what's called an extended grant period. Usually they end June 30th, because that's around when most school years end. But we go out to make sure we're available, we have funds available for summer school. And we'll keep talking about this every month. But it's not good enough to just say, well, everybody's in the same boat. We need a plan, and our plan is we're gonna just keep working on finding certainties wherever we can. So if we have our funds, we're going to expend them. We're not gonna count on them being around the next year. And approximately 10% of our budget comes from grants. 90% from local funds, property taxes, evidence-based funding, things like that. All right.
That's good update. I really appreciate that.
And thank you. I just also wanted to say, Lizette, not to put you on the spot, but I just want to do an update here. For graduation, Mr. Hightower is not able to make it this year. So we need people to do diplomas. Mr. Jackson, you have a graduate this year, I believe at MacArthur. So Mr. Jackson's going to be at MacArthur. I'll be there. And I was wondering, would anybody else, MacArthur is at 7:30 p.m. Would anybody be available for Northlake? Well, Mrs. Espinosa, thank you. Very good. Okay. And I think Mrs. Mason's hand went up.
Yeah, I did.
You're already on.
I responded for both,
Sorry, you're on for both?
yes.
Thank you. So, Mrs. Flores, we're good?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I wanted to thank Mr. Byrne over here, the young man right there. We had we had an interesting event happen last Sunday into Sunday night. I know Mr. Hightower, you and I were in communication. And Mr. Burns spent a big part of his Mother's Day here in the district trying to get to the bottom of the internet outage that we had. I then kept working to get communication out to everybody. And it was interesting. 4 of our schools did not have internet, but we figured out a way through it and we had school. And I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Byrne because it was not anything we had anything to do with. The village was doing work out there, and our understanding is something happened where a fiber optic cable was cut, damaged. We're not sure exactly how it happened, but we only found out because Mr. Byrne was getting some alerts about our internet not working, and he kept at it and kept at it and kept at it and finally found out what it was. But then we had to do the same thing to get the repair done. So I just want to thank you, Mr. Byrne, because it could have been more than one day without internet. But Mr. Byrne made sure, what was it, like 3 in the morning on Tuesday morning? You that's when you finally sent me the okay. Yeah. I just wanted to thank Mr. Byrne because today's day and age, we rely on technology quite a bit. And oh, it was. Yeah. So it causes our teachers to adjust. And speaking of certainty, we don't like springing things on the teachers at the last minute either on a Sunday night on Mother's Day when we back to work on Monday. But we know that we have to be adaptive in our profession today. And unless there are any questions, that's the end of my report.
Really important updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Hello. I have a middle school ELA curriculum update. So we have been talking, American Reading Company has a new middle school curriculum that they have redesigned to engage middle schoolers in a different way. And so we've been talking the last several months with our middle school ELA team about, is this a possibility? Should we look into this and what it could mean for our students regarding ELA curriculum? And so we have been looking at it, combing through all of the pieces and parts of that. And so this morning, our final conversation today is that we're going to move forward with the new ARC Fusion. It is designed in a different way. It's designed in a 45-minute period. So their first period would be the new ARC Fusion. And then the second period, so they're of their 78 minutes or 80-some minutes, they would also implement what's called ARC Accelerator, which is the differentiated, the small group portion that we have now, but it's designed to accelerate reading for students that are behind and teach them high utility
instructional strategies in a way that we feel is going to better prepare them for their next journey onto the high school. And so we're going to move forward with that, and we are excited that we have the grant funds to help support that new Arc Fusion curriculum. So it's the same curricular company, they just redesigned things in a new way to reach middle schools differently. It's more project-based. And the topics go a little bit deeper, and the books are a little similar, but a little deeper and broader for what they're going to experience as we prepare them onto the high school. And so we talked a little bit about some of the things that they need to do over the summer as they prepare to go into high school, especially our 8th graders. And so ARC has redesigned this from feedback from middle school teachers. And so we really want to make sure our kids have the best and most effective learning experience. So we've been working through that discussion. So I'm excited to see that. Some of our teachers have been piloting ARC Accelerator the last couple of months, our reading specialists, and we've seen anywhere from a half a year to a year's worth of growth in the last 4 to 5 weeks. So for our students who are above below grade level, that has really accelerated their growth in the last month. So I'm kind of excited to see what that can do for our students, our struggling learners, but then also accelerate our students that are proficient and above. So I'm excited to see what that does for us. Summer school, let me give you a summer school update. Enrollment is up and running. It's actually set to close this Friday. And right now we have many classes that are already closed because they've reached their capacity. So that's a great problem to have. Summer school is always fun to see how quickly they get up and running there. So we're hoping to see that trend continue. And most recently, we have just finished our Camp Duncan. So it's been excited to see our 7th graders and our 5th graders experience some outdoor education experiences. So for our 5th graders, they enjoyed their overnight trip to Camp Duncan. So I'm going to give some huge shout outs to Sharon Urbanek and Stan Soa for their leadership, planning, and work behind the scenes throughout the year to make sure that these trips came to life. Also, Dr. Myzanek. I also want to thank following staff for giving their time and participation in Camp Duncan. And we know that staying overnight at Camp Duncan with our Berkeley students means that they're choosing to be away from home from their own families. And that's a commitment that does not go unnoticed. So I thank Demetra Sakaris, Karen Nordstrom, Jasmine Martinez, Mike Bernowski, Michael Para, Ioannis Averninos, I can never say his name. Stop. Rebecca Temple, Ellen Nebess, Richard Sybil, Greg Durant, David Kavanaugh, Emily Oppenheim, Greg Olson, Tracy Davis, Hannah Hebel, Melanie Swims, and Elizabeth Lopez. We could not have made that possible without all of them. And our 7th graders also got to go on their first team building experience at a place called Go 8, which is like a low ropes and zip line adventure. And so we'd like to thank Kim Barron at MacArthur and Julie Aronston at Northlake for their leadership that they informally took on to make sure that this experience was successful for our scholars. And Joe has an awesome video that to show that was created by and shared by our Wildcats. So, take it away, Joe. Guilty.
Picking on the sorry small and I've been feeling cold, but sick of being all the stuff is now I don't care. That's what I need for kitchen. I'm really for the kitchen. What else can I take the fiction? Even on the living, that's just moving. I like to go. Only doing things out, it's only making life for what
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Looks like they had a wonderful time. It was a wonderful experience for them. Definitely, I would be scared, but they seem to handle it just fine. We've continued our articulation with the high schools or with Leiden and Proviso. One of the things that we're trying to align, and we'll talk more with Dr. Sullivan and as we plan for our calendars, but we'd like to articulate for our institute days so that we can do some professional development with the high schools teachers as well. And so we want to have our curriculum aligned, our standards alignment, and we've been talking about what key strategies that we can look at K-12 so that we're all working on similar things and experiences. And so all of our teachers, K-12, see that there's alignment. So when they're talking about similar things and we're talking about similar things from an instructional standpoint, that we really do communicate with each other and that they see that alignment between the 3 school districts. And so that's been a really good conversation. And then we also talked a little bit, I talked to Mr. Eshkoff about the PMSA enrollment procedures and what that'll look like in the future and what some changes that they're making so that we are on the same page and we're aware. I just talked with him this morning. So those articulations are going really well. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that as well. If you have no other questions or any questions for me.
You said summer school is going very well as far as, what are the numbers?
So I don't have all the exact numbers. I know that we have, I don't know if you were able to pull that up.
No, I didn't, I just looked at the class.
Yeah, Kira said that we had several classes that are full. You know, we have 200 on each side of the district, but we have several classes and each of the classes are around 15. And we have many classes that are already closed and they've reached their capacity, but I don't have the exact numbers right now.
Sure.
But yeah, the Friday enrollment, we're set to close and we're probably gonna reach that capacity.
That's
So
good news.
it is, it's great news. So they're very excited. So thank you.
Any questions?
I just want to make a comment. In the last couple of meetings, you mentioned, as more of an appreciation, I feel like we're focused more on getting our kids ready for the high schools. I'm hearing that more, and it sounds so nice. Thank you.
Welcome.
I love that we're partnering and that building our relationship with our local high schools. It's so important.
It's been really good conversations. It's taken a couple of years to try and like cultivate those conversations, relationships, but they're coming along.
Any other questions? Okay, it's time for the other.
Next, we have one action item for the consideration of the property tax appeal. The suggested motion is that the Board of Education ratify the settlement of the tax rate objections for tax year 2011 through 2014 as presented and discussed in closed session.
Your motion? Ms. Jackson, Ms. Excelnosa, roll call.
Espinosa,
Bye.
Mason, Jackson, Hightower,
Aye.
motion carried.
For my oral report, there's a few things that are upcoming. Our 10-year life safety plan is due by the end of December. Is due by December 31st, 2025. The architects are drafting a proposal for this. There's a required survey that they have to complete, that we need to complete. The process will include walkthroughs of all buildings to assess any facility needs. The architects will then meet with administration to review any findings and then confirm alignment on priorities for the next 10 years. And then we will present the plan to the board for final approval. The architects are also preparing a proposal to add additional manual fire pull stations at North Lake and Riley and Sunnyside and MacArthur. The expansion is required at North Lake and Riley, and then Sunnyside and MacArthur will be updated for consistency across lines. Dr. Sullivan, would you provide some additional background on this, please?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So what happened here, just kind of a recap. When we had our final occupancy inspection for Sunnyside and MacArthur, the number of fire alarm pull stations was deemed to be sufficient. And so our architects used that same approach to Riley Northlake. And it had the same number of pull stations located approximately in the same locations, even though the buildings are different, but approximately in the same places. But on the final occupancy, the inspector at Riley Northlake required more pull stations. And so we decided as a board back during construction that because it would be a summer project, we'd have to just put it off to the future. We could occupy the building, that wasn't the issue, but in order to be fully compliant, we do need to do the additional pull stations. And then we thought, well, if we're gonna put them in one school, we might as well put them in the other two because they were the same. And we don't want to fail an inspection down the road because someone else thought now one has more than the other. So that was our approach. That's what the board agreed to do. This was a few years ago, and now we have it on the calendar to get it done. Okay, good.
Okay, next month, I'll present a resolution to dispose of district-owned property. It's valued over $2,500. This is required to go to the board. This will include 2 vans and 1 pickup truck that we don't use anymore. And we're exploring the use of online auction platform to do this and evaluating appropriate reserve pricing. So we received our Kelly Blue pricing, and then we're going to try and evaluate what the reserve would be. Next month, we'll also bring forward a 2-year contract extension with our E-rate consultant. She provides critical support in securing funding that helps us offset our internet costs. We've been working with Internet Connections for many years, hoping to renew that contract. We're also reviewing our fund balances before year end, and a resolution will present it to transfer interest between funds next month, and additional transfers may be recommended based on the review. It's completed. Talk about the grants a little bit. So we're receiving that funding. However, we've been notified that Cook County tax bills will be delayed. So that means that we'll receive our distributions later. We're going to continue to monitor our cash flow carefully in the coming months. And for those of you who might not be familiar with cash flow, it's just making sure that we have more revenue than expenditures. And if for some reason we're in a deficit, we'll be transferring intertransfer funds and use funds from another account or from another. So we constantly track that anyway, but because of the timing of distributions, you may need to do that. We also have Constellation Energy, so our energy supplier, notified us that upcoming increases in electrical costs are coming, probably around 10%. So our annual billing for electricity runs anywhere between like 600,000, 650,000 a year. So 10% of that would be 60,000. I've talked to our consultant from NextEra. He's a gentleman that gives us our rates or helps us with our rates. And he said that there is going to be some sort of a small credit and future invoices from ComEd, and that'll help offset the costs that are going to be incurred. And I have a meeting with him later in the week to discuss that further. But he's also given me some information on something called Community Solar Farm. And a company called Unisource could help us look at different farming to get energy credits at no cost, no obligation. And he also offered to attend a board meeting in the future to answer any questions about it. We haven't signed anything. We're still looking into it, but this is just part of our contingency plans, basically, in case something, in case funding doesn't come through on, there's grants, possibly. Are you familiar with solar? Anyone have any questions regarding the solar farms?
Where it's going to be located? Is it in detail?
No details. What would happen was Unisource would go out and find different solar farms for us to evaluate and give us contracts from different companies. And we would evaluate them and decide if we want to participate or not.
And we still have that
We would still have Edison. It would just be a credit that would be put on our account, our ComEd or on Constellation accounts. Which is really Edison, it's just the provider, it's a different provider. But, so we would get energy credits and then the solar community would bill us for a portion of it. And whatever that difference is would be ours.
So we'll meet with Mr. White and Mr. Gaithy, our new facilities director, and we're gonna work out our plan, but Irene is bringing this up as an FYI, we're looking at our contingencies again with the uncertainties, what can we do? So if we can save a little money by exploring the solar, we're gonna look into it.
Especially when prices are going on. National School Lunch Program awarded us funding of $10,026 to purchase.
Say that again?
National School Lunch Program.
Yes.
They awarded us funding of $10,026 to purchase a refrigerated salad bar. So that was good news. Updates to the amended budget will be presented next month. We'll have a hearing. And one additional item that I came across was that we purchased new student Chromebooks, which we ordered early to avoid, the price increases, the possible price increases. And that's on a rotational basis. We order these year. And I'll also need an additional bills list to be paid at the end of May due to our early cutoff for this board meeting. So we'll have an interim list for next month. Any questions? I'm sorry, that was a lot.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
No questions, sir.
Anything else?
So thank
Thanks,
you.
Ari.
Thank you.
Ms. Travis.
I have a quick report, interviewing is going well. Tonight we approved a few candidates, so we have several that have accepted the positions. They just have to go through the employee process. So we have about 9 people who have accepted. They're just going through the, employee process with physical background checks and paperwork. So that's really great. And then we have 5 who are currently still thinking about the offer. So hopefully by this Friday, they'll provide me with updates on whether they accepted that. So the interview season, it is going really well. We still will have some, work to do with the candidates. But yes, interview season is going well, been very positive. Last week, Dr. Modi had a former student, he's accepted, so he's coming to North Lake, and he's coming back to teach in North Lake. And then the last board meeting, we approved a candidate. She was my former student. I was her principal, and she's hired at Whittier to be a first grade teacher. And I met her. We got acquainted at Illinois State University's fall career fairs. So it's really great to see our students, and they are so excited to be coming back home. So that's really great. So it's been a positive interview season. Dr. Modi's doing a great job. Principals doing a great job of communicating with me. Once they send it to me, I email and call the candidate. If I don't talk to them, I email, and the candidates have been really receptive and responsive. And we have had some declinations to the home for various reasons. However, everybody has enjoyed, so far so good this interview season.
Are the resignations low? Am I missing something? Are they high? In between?
Well, yes, but I have a little step to take. I'll be honest, a lot of times when people resign, they want to wait till they're approved at the school board meeting by their new district. And then also they'll wait to the end of the year. But I want to send out some communication just to remind them that we want to retain our staff, right? But if they have accepted positions, I will send out a communication this week, just letting them know that we need to know, because late resignations really hurt us. But I've just been trying to hold off. But it is time, because we only have a few more weeks. That way they know. Last year I did it, and right when I sent the letter, we received about 3 or 4, you know, and so, and I know sometimes it's hard to do, but we really, you know, want to retain everyone, but just in case they've accepted, we want to be informed, because we have a few candidates that I've met at career fairs that are saying, you know, hey, I don't see anything in my grade level band yet. I'm willing to see if anything comes up first, so we want to have candidates while they're still out there. But it does feel very low, but we haven't, you know, because I like to let them know that benefits will stay intact, you know, till August, and that kind of helps, because sometimes they're worried about that. But it's going good, it's great, and everyone sees it right. Thankful for that. Yes, thank you, and for the work of the principals and the career fair, having our administrator for that career fair over the year.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say for our principals and assistant principals. So I asked, but it's a virtual career fair. They host 3 a year. And so our principals, they joined me in March. I think I may have shared it, but it was like 10 of us online talking to candidates. That was really nice. They just had another one May 15th. Miss Hannigan, she was on the career fair, Mr. Tour, and I jumped in and out of the virtual career fair. So it's a really great way to meet candidates, and at that one, you have people who are currently employed in other districts that just may want to move out, as well as new candidates new to education. And when I looked at the pool, it was about 950 people who get their resumes into that system. So it's a really great career fair. It's virtual, and it's hosted by ISMs. Last but not least, I wanted to share, we just completed open enrollment for benefits for our employees for the 25-26 career fair. The administrative assistant of human resources, Betsy Berkeley, she did a great job. She does a really great job preparing, going out to schools, and right now she's finalizing it for the 25-26. So we're about to wrap that up, and everyone will have their benefits for the upcoming school year. Okay, Ms. Darchak and I, we met with the retirees, getting them ready and prepared for their new life of retirement. So we've been meeting with them, letting them know what they need to do before they retire. And it's been a joy having her with me and seeing their excitement, but yet feeling like they're gonna miss. I told them they can always come back and substitute teach for us and come back home. And a few of them have let me know that they're gonna substitute teach. So that's great. Unless there are any questions, that's the end of my report.
Any questions, Mr. Travis?
No questions.
Good job, Mr. Travis. Thank you. Let's hear it over. Mr. Farmer, you up?
Awesome. Just to build off what Dr. Sullivan said, up in the front, you can see there's still a hole where the fiber was cut. So there's a big pile of dirt in the parking lot, working with AT&T. When you cut fiber, they try to do a quick repair, and that's splicing the fiber back together. But there's some quality degradation when it happens. So their plan is to run the full run of fiber, to rerun that about 2,000 feet. So in contact with AT&T and when they're going to schedule that, and that will not be at our expense. We'll rerun that. Once they do that, we'll backfill the dirt, and it'll be like it never happened. So just an update on that. I'll go into working on something with Mrs. Zimmerman and the curriculum department, working on some digital subscriptions. I bring that up now because, as Dr. Sullivan mentioned, when there's a day without internet, it affects what we do. So we try to really have a reliable and in some cases redundancies to try to minimize this occurring. Some of the things that we're working on, 3 tools, Epic, Newsella, and TotalGo. We're evaluating that as a curriculum council. The Epic is a tool to bring books digitally into the hands of kids 24/7. Another one is Newsella, which is a really cool tool which takes news stories, but it rewrites it into a format and a reading level that's appropriate for students. So some of those current events, but it touches on topics of ELA, science, and social studies. Really a great tool. Again, brings those current events to the lives of our students. And TotalGo, which is a research tool. Starting at even kindergarten, we want our students to use technology, not just to absorb content by watching videos, but to use it to research and create. And this is a tool specifically designed for our K1 and 2 user students to begin developing those digital skills in a productive way. So that's some work there. Technology department is working on extending the school year. That means collecting technology, wrapping up the student information system Skyward for all of the state reporting that takes place at the end of the school year. And as Mrs. Zimmerman mentioned, getting summer school up and running. And then as in Chromebook purchases, the purchasing Chromebook and other technology to get that prepared for next school. So yeah, that's my report.
The report, thank you for your.
So the one that was rewriting the news one?
It's Newsel it's called.
News.
Yeah, it's called like News NEWS and then ELA. Yeah, it's a really great tool. And again, no decisions have been made there, but that's just some tools that the curriculum council is evaluating for potential use next school year.
I like that.
It's a great tool.
It is.
Yeah, it's a great tool. It's interactive, and I think they have, if I remember correctly, 40,000 digital books. We want our kids to be reading at all times. This is a tool that puts books in the hands of our kids.
Any questions, Tom? Well, else to this side of the room, Dr. Moody,
Well, just wanted to give you an update. I know at our last board meeting, we talked about embedding soccer and enrolling it to our middle school. So we are meeting with a vendor tomorrow over some soccer uniforms. So we're excited about that. Want to formally invite you to graduation. It's 2 weeks from today. I know it's the first time we've had it on Monday. So it's going to be nice. And then we'll wrap up the school year with our 6th and 7th grade scholars on June 3rd. And so we're really excited about that. And I want to go back to the internet outage. You know, I want to say not a single teacher complained. You know, and it was nice. I know Dr. Sullivan, I reached out, you called me at 9 o'clock and we conferred and we thought, let's go ahead and do this. And so we still have books. I know it's an ancient thing we haven't heard of, but we still had books to get. We have a lot of books for our program. And so, and then we had the math workbooks, and then the field trip you saw kind of helped out. That was the day that the internet outage. So a third of our building had something to do. So that was an amazing trip. And then that trip, you know, sometimes kids come back and, oh, why do we have to go on? They loved that field trip. Even the teachers like, man, can we do this again? And so thank you to your department for just allowing us to experience that. So lots of good things happening. We've had a really positive year at the middle schools, and so we just want to see you all at the graduation in 2 weeks from today. We're at 5:30 in the fall at Carter. Thank you for just passing out those applause this year.
Let me apologize to North Lake that I will not be able to show. We're gonna have last minute change and disappointed I won't be here. I know it'll be great. Any questions for Dr. Moody? Dr. Spector, you up?
So for special services, for our nurses, we still have that vacancy for the floater nurse that we're looking for. We've been okay this year working with the agency to make sure that when we go on trips like this, that we have a nurse when it's needed. So we had a great partnership and that's been doing okay. So we're doing okay, even though we have a vacancy, we're doing okay, but we're looking forward to finding a good candidate in the summer. Our nurses also are working on Stop the Bleed. Those were those kits that you saw a few months ago that we put in the Go kits. So the nurses are working together for what our training could look like for next year so that there's more hands-on application. There is a mandatory module that all of our staff are watching every 2 years. But we want to take it another step further and like using hands-on. So the tools that are in the Go kits, they know how to use them. So the nurses are kind of working, we're gonna be working with like paramedics in the area, police in the area together to maybe just make some small workshops, like maybe even just little stations where staff can come and kind of use those tools. So we're kind of taking our steps, our nurses are taking a look at what that could look like for next year. For special education, actually today, I met with our partners that are doing that special education review. The review is completed. I got to see the final results today and review them. And so our next steps are going to be reviewing with the administrative team here. And then they would like to offer a presentation for the board. So that'll be our next step. I figure in June, we'll do it with the administrative team. And then we'll have a presentation for the board, and that's the full program of special education that they did a deep review on. And then from there, they have some ideas of what we can look at for strategic planning for next steps for the future. So it's very, very great meeting today with them and to see kind of the whole thing come to that final piece, and very, very wonderful job, and it's very clear. I think you really appreciate the report. It's very succinct, very simple. Yes, there's a lot of detail, but they're working on a report that'll make a lot of sense for you and other members of the community. It's very simple, so they've done a really nice job. So I'm looking forward to those next steps. And then we did have our safety meeting in May with some of our first responders in the area. So what I will do is I will put together a summary of the outcomes, kind of the key highlights from that safety meeting. And then Mr. Hightower, there's obviously the form for you to sign, and then we will submit to the area. Then from there, we also have our site assessment. Sunnyside was completed 2 weeks ago. And then next week they'll be doing MacArthur. So then all the site assessments will be done, and then we'll get the report to you as a board with any summaries that they have or any key highlights they want to point out. And we have a compliance visit for McKinney-Vento. This is a new visit that the REO is doing where they come and review our registration enrollment process and just make sure everything's in alignment with kind of school code, making sure that you're careful to take care of kids that are DCFS care, immigrants or homeless children. So they'll be doing that this week. And one final thing is I was able to represent Berkeley at the Berkeley Centennial. They had their time capsule where they kind of put just different things from the community in a time capsule that they won't open for another 50 years. And I'm here, but yeah, we were able to put some different things. I was a member of the community, so they asked us to share things from we were children that grew up here, and then I had some things from the district. And so I had like one of me breaking ground. So then they asked if we would do more for the district. So they asked if over the summer we would maybe put together some more detailed information, especially about the new facilities that they could then preserve in the campus. Maybe work with some summer school friends on a project like that, maybe something that could be historical, because they'll be here in 50 years. Yeah.
You said the presentation for the board in July. Open for the special ed?
It could be for July. We could take a look at, see what the calendar looks like for.
Any questions? Move right along. Any other new business? Other business? Anyone?
I had one thing I forgot to share. I
Okay.
apologize during my report. I wanted to let you know that I did work on a grant application for a district-wide literacy plan. It's a small amount of funds, and that's been submitted to ISB. And so we should hear back on that any day. It's a new grant opportunity.
As you can see, this board is ready to go on summer vacation. Guess what, board? You got on summer vacation. We'd like the administration to be on vacation, so this will be our last board meeting on summer break. Well, I can say it's been a pleasure this year, everyone. Being on these four, on that Saturday. So that could be go forward. District making a lot of progress, and you see progress. We're going to be telling from all of them. So let's keep moving on that. And want everybody to have a nice summer. Next early board meeting will be on June 23rd. So, stand that. Guess what? I get a motion to adjourn.
All hands on deck.
Hands on deck. Roll call, please.
Hightower,
Aye.
Jackson, Mason, Espinoza.
Aye.
Motion carried.
All right. Nice summer, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, what's the pleasure?